Okay, firstly, it's nice to meet all of you guys. It's very nerve-wracking. This is my first time doing a solo talk. So it's a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you KSUM and Kerala for hosting such an amazing event. So before I start, I want to ask you guys, how many people here are founders? Okay, a lot of founders. And how many of you guys are first-time founders? Amazing. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about my journey and what it's been like being from a first-time founder to joining a startup and then eventually becoming a VC. So I'm actually 19 years old now. I turned 20 in May, but I started working when I was 14. I don't know what drew me to it, but I fell in love with the entire VC investing and entrepreneurship world. And at 14, I decided to take the plunge and start investing. Slide changer, okay, thank you. Right, so decided to take the plunge, start investing, get into the entire world of early stage tech, predominantly in India, did everything from an Ayurvedic e-commerce platform all the way to a hydrogen electric engine company out of Australia. And what we found was there was so many phenomenal founders building such amazing things early in tech, right? And my goal was, while investing and meeting all these guys, I thought I want to be like these guys. So I started my first company at 15. It was in the gaming space as well. Everything that we've done has been born out of a problem, right? And that's what we believe creates the best companies. Companies born out of solving a problem. So we started a platform built to ease the life of a lot of developers. And when we started, I remember I had a co-founder. He was 17 as well. And we just got into the whole journey and said, let's go and build something, right? And we faced the problem ourselves. When I was 16, we had built a platform and we were like, what do we do now, right? We've solved our problem, where do we go from here? And we ended up seeing so many phenomenal people part of the ecosystem, so many advisors that came in and said, the only thing that matters is whether your consumers like it, whether they're willing to pay you for it, and if these are the only two things that'll happen, then that's all that's important. So we raised about $1 million. I dropped out of school. I went full-time into the business, and we went to go and scale. And I realized that we failed, right? And my biggest learning from that was, if you don't listen to your consumers, you are dead, right? In most people here, you're building B2C companies, but even for B2B companies, if you're not building for your audience, and if you don't talk to your audience consistently throughout the journey, you are not going to succeed. After that, I remember thinking, I was just freshly 17, what do I do with my life, right? I've left school. I can't go back to school now. What do I do? So I was lucky enough that one of my investors came and said, why don't you come and work for me? So at 17, I packed my bags, I left home, I moved to Bangalore, and I started working at a startup there. I was involved in heading strategy and growth for them, and they had built a phenomenal platform around helping ensuring quality in gaming. So what we did is we figured out that by going and trying to get customers the traditional way, you end up falling in line with every other company in the same space. So we ended up and actually decided to go and solve problems for our B2B clients and giving it away for free to the customers at first. And by doing that, we built such a phenomenal base of customers that all of our B2B clients decided to come and just give us a lot more money than we ever expected. And we never ended up having to charge the consumers. We actually eventually started paying the consumers. So, and I think, in all honesty, the product that we had built at that time was not even the top 5 best products. But the reason we were able to do so well and scale so well is because we solved the largest friction point for our end customers, which was, can we catalog users? So I think the traditional GTM strategy, which is advertise, get people, use that, get your customers, and then try and charge both, is not the way to do it anymore, right? Consumers are plenty. Right? Businesses are being created so much more often now. A lot of them are getting flushed with cash. A lot of VCs are in and funding now. So can your GTM change to be something that is more focused on actually solving the friction for the people who have the highest capacity to pay you? Then from there, I combined all of these experiences, first with being a 0 to 1 founder and realizing that there was a gap in a support system for founders in gaming. Secondly, scaling. Learning that experience and being able to translate that to the younger, newer first-time founders. And third, my experience being an investor, right? So we combined all of these things into the fund called Chimera, right? I started Chimera about a year ago. I was freshly 18. I was finally legally allowed to start the fund. And the goal was to do early stage investing into gaming in India. We started with a target fund size of 6 million. And I think raising that first 6 million was probably the worst 6 months of my life. Because the core question that we got is, why should we give you money? Why should we fund you? Right? And this is a question that we related with throughout the entire journey, and a question that a lot of founders here will relate with. When you go out to raise money, why should we give you capital? So we found in an investor perspective, there's a really simple way that we broke it down, right? The first one is, what problem are you solving? The next one is, your problem big enough? The next one is, will people pay you for that problem? Then what is your solution? Is your solution better than others? And if nobody else is doing it, why are they not doing it? And then why are you the people that are able to do that? As an experienced founder, when you have 10, 15 years of experience, you have a lot of people around you that have validated your journey and validated your quality of work. It's a lot easier to raise funding. But how do you do that as a new founder? So a couple of the things that we have found that investors actually strategically look for as personality traits is, number one, now the most important thing is learning agility. Today, with AI being the way it is, companies are becoming redundant in 12 months, even though they were innovative 12 months ago. So what do you do as a founder now? You have to demonstrate to your investors, demonstrate to your audience that you are so adaptable and agile, and you're able to switch and pivot so quickly that their money won't go down the drain. Because a VC will think in two ways. How likely are you to lose the money that I've given you? And how much multiples on that money can you make for me in as quick of a time period as possible? The next one that we found is extremely high emotional intelligence and emotional integrity. And I don't only mean externally, right? In truth, most pitches are at least 20% lies, right? You have to, in some way, convince your investor that something is happening. So being able to be that emotionally honest and intellectually honest with yourself, and then also from there, being able to be ruthless, quick, and be able to bring the right team around you. One thing that we found in entrepreneurs' journeys is, how do you build your team, right? How do you know who's going to be with you for the next 10 years of your life? And if you actually break down the most successful teams, there are people that are responsible for driving different parts of the business, right? So there's people who are so product-focused, people who are so business-focused. Actually, even as an investor, you look for somebody who can eventually drive your valuation. So as a founder, if you break down the elements of your business, you get highly specialized people and you trust them deeply. So a little bit more on Chimera. When we started the fund, the core was, how do we solve the problem of an ecosystem with high talent and low opportunity? The first thing that we found is, can we help solve distribution, right? As a startup today, there's only 3 core value adds that a VC can do that actually matter to you. And the truth is, everything else doesn't matter. The first one is, can you get me money? And can you continue to help me raise more money down the line? The second one is, can you get me good talent that I can bring as part of my ecosystem and bring as part of my team? And the third one is, can you increase my revenue? Whether that be distribution pipelines for users, whether that be revenue generation through customer acquisition, can you help me scale faster? So our goal was to take those 3 problems in gaming in India, where there wasn't a right partner to solve those things, and bring them as part of the fund. This brings an overarching kind of point of what is good capital, right? And in every different sector, it'll be different, right? So if you take electronic vehicles as an example, right? One of the larger value additions there might be, can you find me a good manufacturer, right? We invested in a startup here in Kerala called ZIT, which is basically creating technology to help make gaming accessible across all types of gamings for everyone, regardless of your geography, demography, or income. And they were like, can you help us get vendors? Can you help us get distribution from China? So that was the core that we focused on as the value addition for them, and that's why we were the right investors for them. If we didn't do that, they wouldn't have taken money from us. So with you guys sitting there as founders or even as VCs, how do you have that fit between the company you're funding and as you as an investor to be able to create that synergy? And when you're able to do that, founders will fight for you, right? And your investors will fight for you because they really understand it as well. So I wanted to ask you guys as well, right? How many of you guys are in the process or are looking for VC funding? VC funding, amazing, right? And this might be counterintuitive to say, but VC funding isn't the only opportunity anymore, right? Especially when you look at the gaming business, there's so many things like publishers that are doing project-based financing, and there are individual angels that are funding on passion. And one of the big things that we see founders do today is that they attach their own self-worth to how likely they are to get funding. And they actually build their products not for their consumers, but for what VCs are looking to fund them, which is the biggest mistake that can be made today. You need to build for your consumers, you need to build early, you need to build quickly, you need to ship fast, and if you do all of these things, money will come and chase you guys, right? And as a VC, those are the types of founders and startups that we look for. So I'd love to ask you guys, is there any questions so far? Any thoughts or any kind of understandings that you guys would like to understand as being a young founder or as being a VC as a founder perspective? Yes? So I think while we're doing this, I'll just mention a little bit about Kerala and how Kerala is looking at gaming now. So within Kerala, it is one of the most tech and talent-dense markets there is, right? And with the good work that KSUM is doing for AVGC and XR, we're seeing a phenomenal amount of talent that is coming out, right? The government now has put a lot of initiatives together towards supporting and benefiting the ecosystem as a gaming founder. We're one of the, Kerala is one of the largest creative hubs out of India. We have an incubator that we are launching, which will be in partnership with Nazara, which is a multi-billion-dollar gaming company out of India, Mixi, which is another multi-billion-dollar gaming company out of Japan, and Google, to provide opportunity and access to these founders, where we're giving away $10,000 equity-free. We're bringing mentors in from all across the globe to work with founders from day one to scale, including helping you secure your funding and helping you build your ecosystem of talent and people around you. Right? We'll make sure that that's put up later as well, so if you guys would like to reach out or apply to that, you guys would be able to as well. Okay, yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
No, you were just talking about VCs and founders and how founders attach themselves to the product, right? Mm-hmm. So my question is, do you think the risk appetite of VCs in India is much lesser than countries like US or Europe? Because of that, I feel like founders, they're just getting attracted towards the trend because all of the startups that get funded are from these sectors or a certain area. So do you think the same?
So I think VCs in India have always been more risk averse than VCs in the US because, or in other markets as an example, because those VCs and the innovation there is actually almost one cycle before India, right? So if you look at India traditionally in most markets, we start as a copy market and then we build internal capabilities, and then eventually we become an individual market to be able to build our own creative fields and build our own individual IPs and our own white space innovations. So I think because of that, naturally VCs are going to be more risk averse here. But if you look at a lot of sectors, I think the validation point to know when it is the right time to raise from Indian VCs is to look at when foreign VCs, or foreign CVCs especially, in very sector-specific things are coming into India. So if you take a look at gaming in India, right, we have had like around $2.5 billion in capital from Korean, Japanese, and US VCs that is being dedicated towards investing into the Indian market, which means that now a lot of the tier A VCs in India are now opening up their risk appetite towards gaming, right? So I think it's a good benchmark, but I definitely think Indian VCs will always be more risk averse than the foreign VCs because we will always be a little bit later in innovation.
Yeah, that's what, like, no, you're telling like they attach themselves to the product. So do we have to look for alternate ways there, or do we have to reach out to the other outside countries? What do you think there?
It's difficult because the outside countries normally only come in once the inside country validates it, right? So I think one of the core things that's happening now with how AI is becoming, etc., I think being able to bootstrap is much more possible, right? So a lot of founders now are actually trending towards the direction of bootstrapping into PMF, but once you have PMF, I don't think what sector you in matters. If you have PMF and traction, I think you can raise from Indian VCs, even if they are more risk averse. So I think when you're very early on, go to sector-specific funds. There will be some that'll back you. Bootstrap it as much as you can. Be the hustle that you need to be. Foreign VCs are very difficult to convince if you can't convince local VCs. So build your bootstrap capabilities. Take money from sector-specific funds. Don't dilute too much, and then once you have PMF and some of the metrics required, then you become risk averse anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. This has been a phenomenal experience, and I hope to see all of you soon.